This podcast is recorded on Gadigal land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Hey chicks, I'm Sal.
And I'm Al.
And this is Two Broke Chicks, a show that shares life lessons and tips to help make you rich in life. And today we are joined by author and coach Caitlin Judd. She's just written a book called Good Girl, Goodbye. It's all about how to break out of the mold that society puts you in and build a meaningful life on your terms. It's about creating something more in line with what you want, not something that everybody tells you you want. Caitlin, welcome to Two Broke Chicks.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I've told everyone that I'm coming on this show. So,
Oh
my God, yeah. Everyone. I'm like, guys, it's my turn.
Oh my God, it's my turn.
It's my turn.
And we're obsessed with the jumper.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, everybody go on YouTube and see Caitlin's beautiful jumper and comment how
Where's it
amazing
from?
it is.
It's from a little boutique store down on the Bellarine Peninsula in Victoria.
That's where all the best purchases
Called
come
Pepe.
from.
It
A
absolutely.
boutique shop in some
Yeah.
random town or a market or
Totally.
something.
Yeah, it's like
And
a
you know-
second hand in from London. You're like,
But before we dive into the questions, we like to start with a life lesson of the week. So as our guest, would you like to kick us off?
Oh, I think like any opportunity can really provide you with an insight. And what I mean by that is, you know, my experience with purchasing this jumper and the lady in the store, you know, the cafe that I sat down at to work during the week, overhearing conversations. Not that I purposefully go in to do that, but I do spend a lot of time solo tapping away and I hear conversations and there's these insights that just drop at any time. And I think just being ready and mindful that, you know, it might not be the person that you think you're going to get something out of, but quite often you do end up walking away, and just being really grateful for that. The lady that sold me this jumper, she said to me...
this jumper is the
This
lead
jumper,
carrot.
it's now the lead. It's the carrot.
Yeah.
She said to me, you know, is your book in the bookstore next door? And I said, oh, no, like, you know, I do have a list of the bookstores that have stocked it, but they're not one of them. She's like, well, why don't you go next door and introduce yourself and tell them that, you know, you're local and that, you know, you'd love to have your book stocked in their store. And it's so funny. It's like I had, toyed with the idea, but I just needed someone else to be like, go do it. Go, you know, you do need your champions. So again, it's those little moments that spark, I don't know, just beautiful ideas and connections. And you've got to be open to that. So that's my lesson, to be just being open to
I love
to those,
that. Did you
those
go to the
moments.
bookstore?
I did.
Were they nice?
They were, and they ordered it.
Oh my God, yay! Congratulations.
One more sale. Yes, well, at least it's on the shelf now. But yeah, so you know, you got to back yourself.
The next
but
step
have
is
someone in there.
going into bookstores is what I did. And you get your book and you
then-
go and put it in all the bestseller sections.
We literally did that.
Yeah, I put it
You
next to like
have to.
ACOTAR. And I was like, yeah, they're the same.
Yeah.
Found
course.
family, friendship,
Yeah.
same trope.
Or if it was only showing the spine, we'd like flip it around and have the cover.
Totally. I did that in
like-
the airports. That was fun. You know, you're
Yeah.
just like walking past, like flick, flick, keep walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. It's literally that video of Kiki Palmer on like the lie thing, and I would be like flipping out book around, be like, "Sorry to this man."
Literally.
I'd be like, "You've had enough sales, okay? Atomic Habits. It's my time."
The barefoot investor has enough.
Yeah, we've seen it. We know the
You've
covers.
had a million sales, all right? Let's
Exactly.
make some room.
What's your life lesson?
You go first.
Okay. My life lesson was actually inspired by a post on Instagram that I saw from an account called Olivia Unplugged. I'll put a link in the show notes. But it really grabbed me as I was scrolling. And it essentially was saying that if you're living for the weekend, you're wasting 70% of your life.
I saw this as well.
Yeah. How wild is that? Because so many of us are just constantly looking forward to the weekend. And like when Monday rolls around, you're like, fuck, I can't wait for Friday. And when you're
Like, well, when it's Wednesday, then it's nearly Thursday. Thursday is basically Friday.
Yeah. So if you're living for the weekend, you're wishing away 70% of your life. That is a lot of time. It's
a lot of time.
Yeah. And I think it's a completely relatable thing. I'm not saying that every day you have to wake up or every Monday you wake up and be like, la, la, la. Like, that's why it is so important to look at your weekends and your weekdays kind of the same. Like, there's still all opportunities to have some joy in your day and not saving all of your errands for the weekend or all of your exciting things for the weekend and actually peppering them through the week and being a little bit more mindful of how you spend your Monday to Friday, because it's the majority of our time.
It's a life by design, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what the man wants us to do.
Literally. And I think at this time in the year, like this midpoint, I was like, I needed that reminder.
Yeah, because I do think people get to like June and July and they're like,
Yeah, seasonal depression.
Yeah, literally. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, my life lesson is something that's happened in the last hour. You're not allowed to speak for 2 seconds.
Don't speak.
Where would you put
Yep.
an open bag of crisps?
Yeah, I think this is, fairly obvious. Back in the cupboard.
Right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting next to a mass murderer, aka Sally McMullen, because she has pulled out this bag of crisps. And I'm saying crisps in case there's like any British people that are like, what, or American that are like, what are you talking about? Talking about chips.
Potato chips.
Potato chips. Right? She pulls them out of the fridge.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck? But wait, there's a plot twist. Because we opened this bag of chips, I'm going to go ahead and say maybe like 2 weeks ago. Those things were literally fresh as the day they were born. I eat my words
Yeah.
because I thought you were really weird. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna
That's
have
okay.
radical honesty in this friendship.
I don't know anyone else who does it except for my boyfriend and I.
It is so strange. I've never seen anyone put chips in the fridge, but they are so fresh.
Makes a lot of sense. Do you know what I have started putting in the fridge? Rice crackers.
I
So
do
you
that
know how,
too.
and so this, now I understand this, because you know how you open up and they've got, your 4 rows, and if you're eating them by yourself, I mean, look, I can easily get through 4 rows, but let's just say you get to 3 and you're like, I'm going to save those. But I can't be bothered putting them in the jar. That's so
No, the
lazy.
jar
It is,
is-
let's be honest, it's a lazy choice.
lazy,
but I put
yeah.
it into the fridge and they do stay fresh.
Yeah, you don't even have to wrap them up or anything.
No, you just, if you're on the go, you just throw them back in there and pick them up tomorrow. Yep.
Anyway, let us know in the comments.
Do chips go in the fridge or in the cupboard?
I can't wait to get roasted.
No, but like,
No, you've got support.
I was ready
I
to
support
roast
you.
you. I was ready to roast you for this,
Yeah.
which you know I would because I love you.
Yeah. Should we get into the episode?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Caitlin, you started your career in the corporate world, but can you give us a little bit of a TLDR of how you've ended up now in like the coaching space and writing a book?
I did start in corporate marketing. And I would have been about 23 by the time I actually got back from America. So I used to live in Miami.
How was
And
that?
Welcome to Miami.
Exactly.
Hey.
Every time I
So
say
you've
it,
got
that
some
song
fun
plays.
stories.
Oh God, do I have
Yeah.
some fun stories, some cracking
Did you
stories.
ever hook up with a celebrity?
Yeah, Pitbull.
That was me.
That would be honestly my dream.
That
Like
was
that
me.
is
No,
so
back off, Caitlin.
ridiculous.
That is my man.
Okay, fine. We can fight Mr. 305, Mr.
Yeah.
15. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
he'd be such a
so much
generous
fun.
lover.
It was so fun.
It would be.
Yeah, so while I was over there, like I studied originally at the University of Miami, but I also interned and I worked over there. And for some weird reason, most of my bosses, and I say it is weird because here it was such a different experience, were women. And women just like trailblazing, doing their thing, starting businesses, working for, I did some corporate work and then some also kind of like startups and stuff in media. And they were all female leaders. And I was like, this is cool. That became kind of my blueprint. I was just like, yeah, all right, I want to be doing what she's doing when I'm older. I want to be calling the shots. So I had this really fascinating blueprint, so to speak, and then came back to Australia when that kind of part of my life ended. Oh my God, it was so fun.
You broke up with Pitbull.
Yeah,
You had to leave the
that should be
country.
my next book, honestly, the Miami part of my life. But, when I came back, I did get a corporate marketing job. And what was really interesting about that was the entire executive suite and even all the like managers were male, and even the private equity firm that bought out half the company, invested, were again all male. And so I'm like, I'm scratching my head and I'm like, okay, that whole concept of like you can't be what you can't see. I'm in this environment where I don't really know if this is for me because I can't really see the pathway or growth opportunities here. So I started to just really question that. And it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the work. Like, I really did. There was a lot of great opportunities there and I really made it my own. But I did start to question, like, is this it? Is this what I want? And is this what I want for my future? And so that's when I went down an entire rabbit hole on positive psychology, on well-being, on female leadership. How do we how do we lead ourselves and lead others? And how do we flourish while we're doing that? How do we design a life that we're not just optimizing for the weekend, we are also really excited about our Monday to Friday? And so that's what I started to research and learn. And, I was like consuming, back then it was the webinars, and then before podcasts were a thing. So, I couldn't really get away with just having things in my ears. I'd have to be like flicking my screen, during my lunch break. But yeah, I really started to consume a lot of this information and I realized, okay, yeah, I really want to help people start to figure out what it is they're good at, what do they enjoy doing, and how can they turn that into their life and their business or their career. And that's where the whole journey started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I studied positive psychology and went out on my own at 25.
You can study just positive psychology.
I studied positive psychology. Yeah,
that's what I want to look into that one.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Seriously. So let's talk about your book, Good Girl, Goodbye. Great title.
Thank you.
From your understanding, what does a good girl look like according to society?
Yeah, so the good girl effectively is someone who has been conditioned to behave a certain way in order to feel secure, to feel like they belong, to feel loved. And so this often happens when we're little, when we're young girls. We require a level of safety in order to survive. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is these behaviours, these patterns, these, learned coping mechanisms carry through with us into adulthood, and they stick around long after they're actually, required. And so it ends up holding us back in so many ways, from opportunities, from, really fundamentally beautiful relationships because perhaps you're masking, perhaps, you are prioritizing other people and putting other people first, classic kind of good girl behavior. And this, as I said, it really does start to hold women back. So what I originally thought was, well, there's something wrong with us as an individual. Like I was a good girl, and I kind of still sometimes identify with it. So do other people. What's going on here? And the more that I spoke to other people, the more that I really kind of shone the light back on myself and examined my life, and more of the research that continued to come out, I started to realize that this wasn't an individual deficit. This was a systemic and a cultural force, that we have been told how to behave and how to be and how to exist in this world, in a world that's largely not designed for us. Mm-hmm. And we respond and react in a certain way to that. And that's what keeps us small. That's what keeps us wanting to be contained and feel safe and afraid to really go out there and, I
just had like a visceral reaction to that. I would be like,
ah! I know.
It's like, no.
It makes you
Don't put me in a box,
doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, well, because you feel like you have to stay in line. And I think so many people listening would probably feel that and recognize themselves in that. But you write about the 12 good girl archetypes. What are the top 3 most common, do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I designed these archetypes based off of the research that I did with over 100 women. And so they really informed them. And what's interesting is not everyone will identify as a good girl, but when they read the archetypes, they'll be like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that might be me, So it's not, and it was a divisive language. People are like, no, I've got my shit together. Like, I'm not a good girl.
Oh no, I don't have my shit together. No,
right. Or there were people that were like, help me.
None of them.
Exactly.
Neither.
Exactly.
Asking for a friend. What happens if you're neither good nor left
your shit together? We'll work on that after. But yeah, some of the common ones that I mean, look. The classic, the perfectionista. The perfectionist. She edits and tweaks and continuously works at something until she feels like it's ready to be let go and, seen by the world. And sometimes because you continuously try to make something better, 2 things happen. One, you just never you never get it out into the world, or you kind of override the magic of it. And it changes its original concept or its original structure. And it's like, oh, that actually ended up not becoming what I wanted it to be because I over-engineered it almost. So I think that the Perfectionista is a classic, and, you know, we can talk about how that, you know, really marries nicely with confidence and imposter syndrome later. Another one that I love is the Lollipop Lady. She's busy. Yeah, this is probably one of the first archetypes that just, I don't know, came to me. The Lollipop Lady is someone that is really great at making sure everyone else gets to their destination, that everything is like in control. It's like, yep, I've got the stop sign.
She's like, guys, take your shots. The Uber's here.
Yeah.
And she's always putting other people first.
Always,
She's holding Carrie's hair back, and she's also like stopping Samantha from like texting some bitch.
Being responsible.
She's being responsible.
Yeah.
And she's not allowing for the magic to happen in life. She's really scared to relinquish control. And therefore that means that like the magic, those opportunities don't come up.
Yeah.
The hidden artist. We all have a hidden artist within us. We're all creative, but many people are scared to put their work out there, so they shove it in drawers, they hide it away. They're like, oh no one will like this. No one will want to see it.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's definitely a good girl face. The fortress, someone who, sorry, I've gone into 4 now. But the fortress is, someone who locks away their emotions, and they're just scared to be vulnerable. They're scared to be seen for who they really are because they're afraid that they're not going to be accepted. So, there's 12 goodies in there. And as I said, they are informed by the research, and, you know, whether you or not you think you are a good girl outright, I think reading through these and just seeing how it shows up in different areas of your life, because it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
We're not always right up this end. We might sit somewhere along the continuum at different stages of our life, and also, you know, depending on what those, external forces look like.
Yeah, I do think women just constantly have this invisible pressure to be good, like to be a nice person. And we've seen even just the rise of certain terms like being a girl's girl, right?
Oh,
and how that is, to me, I know everyone has their different interpretations of it, and how it started out to be a thing of like supporting women, but now is more slung around as a way to tear women down for not matching someone else's measurement of good. So like if someone doesn't match, like, you know, their measurement of what a good thing to do is, I've decided they're now not a girl's girl.
Correct.
And that's like,
Correct.
That's why I don't like that term, because it is this thing of like, where's boy's boy? You know, like
we're not holding them at that same
there's-
standard.
There's not that. It just sometimes feels like women are kind of held by the scruff of their neck, being like, no, come on, be a girl's girl, be a good girl.
Yeah.
And those are all the same. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Those are kind of all within this same, you know, pool. There's a really interesting study from the 1980s where psychologist Carol Gilligan suggested the idea that women silencing themselves is conditioned behavior. At what age do women start losing their voice, and why?
Yeah, so this particular research was discovered through adolescence as that age group where girls, I suppose, discover that there are pros and cons to saying certain things and to voicing certain opinions. Some opinions will be treated more favorably, and other opinions, well, you know, that might oust you from the cool group. That might oust you from the boys wanting to, like, you know, getting to know you and hang out with you. So you learn really early that there is a contract. There's a social conditioning that says, you know, be careful about what you say, because, you know, it will be looked upon unfavorably. And that is, you know, the whole idea, right, is that we belong somewhere. You know, we require that. That's in our DNA. We need to belong. But we forget that when we start to over-engineer that during adolescence, the long-term effect of that is where it starts to play out and it starts to become detrimental. In the Good Girl research, relationships are the number one casualty of being a good girl, right? Which makes sense. We are relational. We need each other, right? And so if I'm being a good girl and you're seeing me and interpreting me a certain way, and then I decide one day to perhaps change it, fuck this, I'm, you know, whatever. Or, you know, you're just like, hey, I've actually got to bring up something that you're not typically used to me wanting to talk about or say, or, you know, that's going to cause conflict. So, you know, young girls, interestingly enough, are trying to preserve relationships and belong, and then later down the track, it can have, not everyone, obviously, but it can have a detrimental effect and be really tricky to build relationships with a solid foundation. So, yeah, it's during adolescence, and I think, you know, it's not that girls just lose their voice. They don't just lose their voice. They don't lose their opinions. We all have opinions. We all have beliefs. And, you know, we are rightfully so, you know, allowed to express those. It's just that it becomes a little bit harder because the world is a lot more critical on what women say and how they say it. And we learn that early. So we have to really make a conscious effort to counteract that.
Yeah, and that everything, you know, it's very more common for women's words to get picked apart. And
Totally.
so it's easier to say nothing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy to say nothing. There's also at the same time, there's a physical change that's happening, right? And so you've got a lot going on in your body.
And it's like we have to deal with all of that shit and then have to be thinking, oh, don't say that. Oh, no, don't do that.
Yeah. It's hard. And that age, you know, equally girls drop out of sport at a much faster rate during that age, adolescence. And I think, again, you know, we become self-conscious. We are judged physically, you know, and we learn that from a very young age that, you know, your looks are your currency. Yeah. And so we opt out of sport. We've got changes happening. We're judged. There's pressures, and then there's obviously like less pathways in sport, or at least there were. Yeah. They're obviously opening up now, which is exciting. But yeah, it's a tough time, and I think we really need to encourage girls at, you know, during that transition to just keep at it, keep going, keep, you know, using your voice. Like, yeah, it's going to be an uncomfortable time, but like, my God, it's going to be much harder down the line when, you know, you find that who you are and who you're told to be, there's a difference between the two.
Well, that's actually interesting that you bring that up, especially in terms of maybe how girls behave in comparison to young boys in adolescence, which is interesting because a study conducted by Cornell University found that men actually overestimate their abilities and their performance, while women tend to do the opposite. Can you explain how this confidence gap happens?
Yeah, look, you know, this is an interesting conversation, and I flip back and forth on it quite a bit. I was just sitting in the hair salon, and there was a guy sitting next to me getting his hair done, and he was he must have been in his 50s, and he was saying, I almost quit my career because I was so afraid of public speaking and I was a researcher. So I had to report on my findings. I was so terrified that I almost gave up my career. And I was thinking to myself, wow, do you know what? That is actually one of the first times that I have heard a man vocalize that before. And I'm thinking, holy hell, I'm about to go on a podcast and, you know, like, we're going to talk about this, the whole confidence gap as it pertains to women. And here he is confidently and comfortably saying, you know what, that actually really scared me. And I tried a few things and they didn't work, and I was willing to almost walk away from a career. Confidence affects all of us. Crisis of confidence affects all of us. And what's interesting is that this research and research that has come after it, and what society generally is saying, is that there are social and societal conditioning that really plays into why women struggle with their confidence. And it comes back to these inherited scripts, these inherited beliefs that we learn when we're younger and we carry through. So if you were taught to be good, if you were taught to be well-behaved, taught to colour inside the lines, to be perfect, to not get your dress dirty, to not, you know, put a foot wrong, when you go out into the big bad world, shit, that ain't how it is, right? It's a much different story. Life and business is all about trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing, right? That's what it is. It is trial and error. And when you grow up and you're not necessarily encouraged to do that and to be that person, to be the rough and tumble and to, you know, go and make mistakes and not be treated differently as a result of the outcome, yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to become an adult and, you know, step into the workforce and feel like you've got your shit together. Confidence is really a muscle that's built. Confidence is built in action. And I think we forget that a lot of the time. And yes, you know, 25 to 50% of confidence can be biological. So someone will come with, you know, the genetic makeup that says you might be super, super confident or you might struggle, but we can also change that, right? That is malleable. But 75% therefore says, no, we can work at this. We can build our confidence muscle. We can try the things. We can excavate and look at, well, what are my inherent beliefs? What are my stories? I bet that guy in the salon today, he could have been a good boy. He could have also had a lot of the same stories and narratives growing up that his voice didn't matter, or you know he was bullied at school, or it was not okay to fail. And so I think we need to stop trying to fix women. I think we need to stop trying to fix women's confidence. It is not something that is wrong with you. It's just something that needs to be examined. It's something that you need to obviously educate yourself around and then make those choices and decisions that's going to better yourself. And you know, some of us will need to be able to stand on the stage and speak. Some of us won't. And so it's like, what's your level of confidence that you need for yourself? You don't
have to be the loudest.
You don't have to be. And it's in it, and really, and that's the most important thing. It's really inner belief.
Yeah.
It's self-belief and it's self-confidence. That's most important.
Flip it as well, though, because there is this double standard as well that like kind of what we've been talking at this top of, like, you know, women silencing their voice a lot. But then also if women are too confident or too loud, they can be labelled as, you know, bossy or difficult and too much. And women are like very often told they're, in quotes, too much.
Yeah.
And like, why is that? Like, how do you suggest women navigate the tricky double standard that it is if they do come in with confidence?
It is. So it's double bind and it's a backlash effect, right? And we're walking an impossible tightrope. We've now found our voice, and workplaces are starting to encourage women using their voice, and that's all well and good, but as you said, like, there are people that still don't want us to be using our voice and will query and question the integrity of, you know, what we know, what we say, what we believe, and that can be really, really tricky. You know, that is not necessarily something that all men face. It's not as well what all women face, but I think a lot of women do face this double bind. It's like, lead. You know, we want you to speak up, but don't be too loud. You know, we want you to do it in a way that is safe for us. You know, it's a way that society still wants women to play by the rules, you know, and so we're walking this impossible tightrope going, well, I know I can do it, and I know I have agency and conviction and belief, but I'm still getting pressure externally saying, you know, I can't and I shouldn't be doing these things. And so what do you end up doing, right? You get stuck and you get caught in the middle. I think, you know, it's not about becoming more masculine or those traditional masculine traits. You know, historically we've called that, you know, confidence. We've called that, you know, self-belief. We've called that agency and, you know, conviction and all those words, right? I don't think it's about women becoming more masculine. It's an and I'll always advocate for the between, the and. There's like a section in the book that I literally dedicate to like finding the middle ground. It's how can we lead with those more historically feminine traits, empathy, you know, communion, how do we work together, love even. You know, what's fascinating, there's a strengths research and report that says some of the best leaders actually have the strength of love, and they lead with love. And that's because you can, you know, build relationships, understand other people. Love.
Empathy goes a long,
right? And so
isn't
that fascinating? And
Yeah.
so it's an and. You know, I think externally what's beautiful are those feminine traits where, yeah, you build connection, you're in service of others or to a team. Internally, you're decisive. You know what you want. You're going to learn how to communicate that clearly, and you're going to deliver it the way that that needs to be delivered. And so it's an and.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to leading authentically. And yes, I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but if you are a leader and you're trying to be someone you're not, that is so easy to sniff out.
Yeah, and that also just like, I think that's more anxiety inducing. But to wrap up, I have 3 quick fire questions for you. Number 1, what is eldest daughter syndrome?
This goes so well with the good girl, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I like to say this is my triple threat. I am an eldest daughter, I am a good girl, and I'm also a Virgo.
Whoa.
Lord help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, right? So I'm all 3. Yeah. And I put that in the book. But the eldest daughter syndrome is this pressure for eldest daughters to almost be, I see, second in charge to their mum, which is someone that is responsible. She is the caretaker, the empath. She is really like, she carries the weight of the family in some respect on her shoulders. And that, again, is conditioning. Now, it is beautiful to like want to take care of, you know, your siblings and your family and all that, but it isn't an it shouldn't be an expectation.
Yeah.
See, I think that there's definitely like a crossover between the eldest daughter and the good girl for sure. And I think that's because the responsibility largely falls onto the eldest, right? And if you're a girl, you've also got those additional pressures to, you know, be the carer, to take care of everyone, to make sure everyone else is okay. So that can just like compound. And, you know, when you're a good girl and the eldest daughter, there's a lot going on. And I think it's just making sure that girls know it's not their responsibility. They don't have to be the carer. They can, because it's beautiful, but they don't have to be. And I think that's the most important thing, is we need to teach our girls. And if on the flip side, that the boys need to step up and they're responsible too. You know, if they're the eldest son, like it shouldn't, not everything should fall on the shoulders of the woman. And we're about to go through one of the biggest transfers of intergenerational wealth, which will fall, 65% of that will be passed down to the eldest daughter, which is really cool, or to women, eldest daughters being one, you know, quite a big subset of who's going to be receiving that intergenerational wealth. And so think about, imagine we're going to have to be doing the caring, but also managing the finances.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It brings up more questions for me than I have answers. However, just talking about it is great. I think we're talking about it and we're aware of it, and it's just now I'm like, well, hang on, where are my brothers? They can step up and like take as much responsibility.
You can get the Mother's Day present this year.
Oh, trust me, that I did send that message. Don't you worry. Oh yeah, I've now started just, you know, and that's it. That's my rebellion. I'm like, you two next year.
Yeah.
Just get it. Get your
Well,
shit together.
speaking of rebellions, what's a micro rebellion everyone listening can do today to break away and stop being a good girl? What's the micro rebellion everyone can do today to stop being a good girl?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you know, go and investigate and see perhaps what your archetype is and where the good girl shows up in your life, because that will help determine where you might want to rebel. And I've paired the archetypes with some ideas for rebellions in the book. But one that I mean, such a simple one, but just pause before saying yes. Like, I am like so enthusiastic about, oh my God, I'll do it. I can help, whatever. Where do you need me? What? Let's do this. And then all of a sudden, like, the horses run away and you're just like, oh, crap. Like, I actually don't think I want to do that, or I don't have the resources and capacity. And then you end up having to like maybe disappoint someone. So just pause and think about it before, you know, saying yes. I think that's a really, really, really simple one.
That's a great one.
It's such an easy one, right?
Yeah, I like that.
It is. And I think like calling out other people, you know, just yesterday I went to the pharmacy to fill a script, and the pharmacist of all people was like calling my doctor, who's a woman, a guy. It's like, oh, what did he say? What did he say? And I let it slide for the first one because I was like, oh, you know, I mean, like, this is, you know, it's funny. I'm like, people hate see me coming if they're, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm just going to let it slide. And then he kept saying it. And I was like, there is no clear indication that this is a man. And it really pissed me off because I'm like, shit, like, we work so hard to get to where we are. We face these double binds. We don't get paid as much. And then to just have someone blatantly assume that this person who's in the game, he's in the game, right? To assume that that's a man, I was just like, I just looked at him and I looked at him in the eyes and I was just like, she. and he just stopped and he looked at me and he said, oh, yeah, sorry, she. And I was just like, you know what, like, will it change anything? Who knows?
I think it does. Those things they're acts of microfeminism that the individual can do because otherwise the issue can feel really, really daunting. But knowing that it can be, pausing before you say yes or calling out those little things can really add up. But we always end our episodes with our guests with one final question. And we want to know, on your journey, doing your research, writing this book, seeing everything that you've seen, what is your biggest life lesson so far?
Oh, God. There's a lot in that book. I would say that really consider who is on your team. Who are your champions? What's your scaffolding of support look like? I think that's so critical, right? Like you want people that really do champion you, that aren't cheering for your compliance. They want you to, they want you to change, to grow, to evolve. They want to see you succeed. Find those people. Like that is, I think, number one, what has made the biggest difference in my career and just of late, like working with some really incredible people. And I think, on the flip side or in addition to that is to really, take your shot. Like take your shot, give it a crack, as that's in the book. No one else is going to be championing you as hard as you can and your stuff. Just go and give it a crack and see what happens, right? Because anything really is possible. Look at us sitting here on a Thursday, just like eating salt and vinegar chips and light and tangy.
Yeah.
And like, who would have thought this was possible, man? Like, just do it. Like,
I love that. It's like have your support system, but also be your own support system.
Give yourself
What a
a cuddle.
perfect way to wrap the episode. Thank you so much, Caitlin. We'll make sure to put links to all of your socials and, of course, a link to buy the book Good Girl Goodbye in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. What a treat. Absolutely loved it. Love.
Can't wait to borrow your jumper.
The pleasure is all ours.
Yes, it could be the communal. It's like the sisterhood of the traveling jumper. Let's do it. Done.
Perfect.
Thanks, Cheeks, for having us in your ear holes. We absolutely love to be here. Bye-bye.
Bye.